Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett
Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisor.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland, and today I've got Dawn Harper-Nelson with me. Dawn, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good this beautiful, beautiful morning.
It's awesome to have you here. What people probably can't see on the cameras
I know.
is so we got some. What do we got here in front of us?
We got the good stuff. We got the good stuff. I brought my Olympic medals with me, my World Championship medals, and also my Diamond League trophy. And so, yeah, I always say I love to bring them out. I feel like I did not win them just for me. I literally won them for my country, for everyday people. And so I love to have people touch them and just be like, oh, that's heavy. This one's big. And it's really cool to see all the different questions and responses.
Well, that's what you got from us and some of the guys in the office here. We're like, man, look at that. That's so cool. So you are 100 meters hurdle, the gold medal in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the silver medal in the 2012 London Olympics, the 2017 World Championships, first American hurdler to win the gold medal and then a medal in the next Olympics.
Yes, sir.
2022 UCLA Hall of Fame.
What?
Six-time. This is what I couldn't believe. Six-time. I know it's high school, but six-time IHSA state champ.
Yes.
And one year you didn't even get to race because you blew out your knee.
Yeah.
Somebody who was on a Wheaties box told me a story about that. And we're going to talk about it later. Our friend Jackie Joyner Kersee. And then also Dana Howard. I got to say, what's up to Dana? She's the one that introduced the two of us.
Absolutely.
And so happy to be here. But if you can, Dawn, what has made you the woman you are today? Because you don't just wake up and have all these medals in here. So if you can, kind of tell us that. What's that story?
That's a good question because I always say, typically you see in quote unquote the end product. You see me today. There's so much life and so much that went behind that. Oh man, a huge chunk of that is family for me. I am just family. Like if Dawn/family, like that's my name, right? Growing up, I mean, an example, even when I won the Olympics, the first thing they said was, what's the first thing you want to do when you go home? And I said, have Thanksgiving meal at my Aunt Flossie's house with my family. Like that is just family for me. I had a pretty good upbringing with my parents. My parents did get divorced, so that obviously plays a toll on you as a kid. But to be honest, my mother was very strong and you're still worth it. You still have worth. Yeah. But then being grounded in church, my faith is huge for me. Through all the ups and downs, I always knew that God had a plan, has a plan. And then just kind of understanding that you're going to go through ups and downs and that's okay. Yeah. But as long as you learn from them, you always have your family that backs you. But just go out there and just give it everything you have. And so it's just such a loaded, but yeah.
I mean, anybody can say that, right? Give it everything you have. Obviously, you got to have some God-given talents.
Absolutely.
We were joking about racing in the parking lot.
Right.
Obviously, you can still kick my butt. But what was it about you that said, okay, I may be just a little bit different than that girl next to me? But would you say it's more physical or more mental?
The mental I think was the bigger part of it, right? Physical, you just got to have something in the tank.
Right.
I mean, it's just, you got a little bit of genetics that, there. But I think when I say give everything you have, for me, what that means is I'm not okay with regrets. I'm not okay with saying, well, I could have, that just boils my blood. And so from a kid, I've always been like, no. Even though I would go to the state meet and been undefeated, my understanding was always on that day, it could be anybody's day. Yeah. And so you have to leave it all out there. So if I do get beat, they were better on that day. It was not because I gave them anything. And the funny part is with that, like I said, it just plays into my life because just jumping ahead just a little bit, literally, Jackie Joyner Kersee, when I met her, she was very clear in saying, I do not care what anyone has done every single day up until today. On today, you have to beat me. And so she told me that, and I was like, you are so right. And so, that's just kind of how I feel like I've lived. And mentally, though, over time, I'm a monster. I have built up to be a monster, especially on the track. I truly believe I can take down any giant that would step on that track beside me.
I don't know about you two, but I believe that, don't you? Just from already what she's saying. So I've had the pleasure of being around Jackie numerous times, and one of my favorite quote, she says, I didn't train to be second best.
No, listen, because who dies every day? Yeah. Because under Bobby Kersee, you die You question life. You're like, I'm
Bobby
paying.
Kersee, her husband,
Absolutely.
and your trainer.
And
her trainer.
my coach. You're like, I'm paying him to kill me.
Yeah.
That's literally his job, is to go home, stress, worry. What does Dawn need physically, mentally to get her on top of that podium? Yeah. And every day he found a way to make you feel like, I thought I was ready, but I'm not ready. And so, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Got to break it down to build it back up.
No, literally. And by the time you're built up Bobby standards, no other coach has done what, they've prepared you to do.
No, that's amazing. Tell us what you've learned. I mean, you traveled the world. When I was doing my research, I mean, it seems like you've been like in every country.
It feels
ever.
like it sometimes.
And so what have you learned about just life, about the world, by traveling through the world, through sports?
Oh my goodness, there's so much out there. You think you think you have a way of understanding how life is, and then you step into someone else's culture and you're like, oh, I thought my life was beautiful, or I thought these things. It's like, there's so many things out there. And so just not being stuck in your own bubble, being open to accepting and learning from others, experimenting on different foods, right? I mean, just being someone that wants to just absorb things. I think that that's kind of big for me, just realizing that beauty is everywhere, and it's not just how you've defined it. It looks many different ways.
And it's got to be different, right? I mean, I grew up in a small town. You grew up in a small town. What would you say coming from East St. Louis? And there's so many phenomenal people in East St. Louis that I think I was just having this conversation with Dana the other night. It's like, I don't think he understands. You probably don't understand either. Like, the people you've grown up to idolize and watch. Like, I didn't grow up with those people. Like, you start naming Dana Howard, Brian Cox, Marco Harris, Conzo Martin, all these people, right? You, Jackie Joyner Kersee, and the list goes on and on and on. And so what was it about you, about East St. Louis, and expectations that also maybe helped?
That's exactly right. Expectations. So in East St. Louis, we say we're the city of champions. And from the outside, so many people are like, it's ghetto, it's all these things. But within East St. Louis, the adults that were around me looked at us and said, don't you dare define yourself that way. Coach Nino Fennoy, who was Jackie Joyner's coach, high school coach, and also my high school coach and summer track coach, the things that he would tell us we could do, the way that he spoke life into us and demanded that we believed in ourselves. Sometimes, I mean, we talk about this today, we're like, he is just tripping. Like, there's no way. He just always like, better. And you're like, that was pretty good for today. And it's like, no, better. As young women, you got to go out to the world and and it was just like, we get it. I mean, he was just kind of relentless with it. And so I think that was very helpful when you did finally face a situation where it was the complete opposite. You're like, well, I've only heard my whole life of you are, instead of can you. Yeah. And so
they weren't beating you down, telling you all the things you did wrong.
Man, it was the total opposite.
Which is, I think, a big note for parents, right? Us now parents, you've got 2 kids, I've got 4 kids. They talk about that drive home from the baseball field or the soccer field or whatever, how important that is, right? And I think that's probably a big thing for us to learn is the I cans.
Absolutely. And then the speaking into them on the days when you see their shoulders are slumped, right? I mean, where you're like, it was a huge defeat. Like one where you, like at first they were like, we got this. And then, because it won't always be perfect. Yeah. The times you're driving home and it's silent and they're like, if I don't want to talk right now. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'll give you a moment, but we're going to address the elephant in the room of this failure that you feel. And I think just speaking life into, because it's going to happen again. And when it does, they can fall back on, man, and even if it, like, they feel like no one else, they're like, my family, right? Like, that's, my family believes in me. My family never saw, when I felt like I was at my worst, my family never saw that part of me. They only saw the greatest. Yeah.
So do you think that the struggles you've had, because I texted Jackie and I said, hey, I'm talking to Dawn tomorrow, and I said, what do you think, right? Yeah. And so she said, I paraphrase here, but that you had an injury in high school that would have ended most people's careers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so I think that was your sophomore year, right? So your sophomore year of high school, won it your freshman year. Sophomore year, obviously you're thinking you're going to win it. Absolutely. You have this season career ending injury. What did you learn through that struggle?
How bad I wanted it. I learned that because, like you said, the thing was like, we don't know if you'll ever run as fast again or if you'll ever be as good. And for me, I was shocked and devastated. It's just not heavy enough words to kind of understand how I felt, because I started to believe that I had what it took to go to the next level. And I'm like, you're telling me that it's ending here.
Did they tell you that it was going to end? Like you're done?
Yeah, they're like, they're like, it literally, it's like, this is something that people really don't like for your sport. They don't come back from. And I'm like, well,
and you're 16 years old or whatever
literally,
you are.
16. And what was also hard was that was my freshman year in high school was the year that they first merged Lincoln High School and East St. Louis High School. So it was the first time they had was the freshmen that would be a chance to go to state. So the first time someone could win 4 years in a row. So because high school is 10th, 11th, 12th, 3. Yeah. People have done that. No one's done 4. And so when I won my freshman year.
Gonzo talks about that for basketball.
Oh, really?
He did it in basketball.
And that's sweet. And so,
He didn't because they weren't combined then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, No, exactly. Me neither. Right. No. And so literally, so my freshman year, I broke the state record, 100 hurdles, 300 hurdles, and won them both. And it's like, oh, I'm on my way. Sophomore year, I'm like, I'm undefeated. If things go well, you're right on your way. And when I got the injury, it was just like, I can run through it. I can still run through this. Right. But the body is still the body. You're still human. Yep. Like as much as you put in all this hard work. And like my physical therapist, he even went to state with me and my family. And I'll never forget, I ran the rounds, but they're like, her leg is not going to make it through 4 more of these rounds because I had 4 races. And they made the decision in the back of the truck that we had the truck up, the hood up. And I'm sitting in the back and they tell my parents, she can't run, she's done. And I cry my eyes out and I'm like, just let me do the 100 hurdles. So I begged to run the 100 hurdles. And my parents were like, she's crazy. And I'm looking at the doc like, I can do it. And they let me. And I remember being in the blocks where I couldn't bend my knee. And when the gun goes off, I'm like, go girl, go. The way that I lost that race, my mother and father say, you could have sworn that everything was perfect conditions. And so when I cried so hard, it was just like life is over. And the thing is as an adult, you can look back and say like, we all know that state meet is not the end of the world. Correct. But the problem
in that moment, though, it feels
exactly in that moment. And that's why I say when we talk to our kids or we talk to just someone going through something, you can't look at your life and other things going on. It's for that person in that moment. Literally, I felt like everything was out the window. Everything, nothing else mattered because life was over. And like I said, in that moment, it made me realize if I do walk, run again, I will never take this for granted because it was just a little hiccup. I will never, if I ever get a chance to go to college and run, oh my God, I will never, and I remember the journey of therapy going back. It was almost like you could put on me some Rocky music. I was ready. It was long. It was hard. But I had a team to get, like Coach Fennoy and my physical therapist, the way that they work together, and my mother, bless her little heart, she's like, whatever they say do, we're just going to do. And I was doing extra workouts on my own in our driveway. It was, so I tell a lot of parents, how they're like pushing their kids. Yeah. You'll know if they want it. You'll know if they want it. That's
exactly where my mind was going. You wanted it.
I wanted it bad. Yeah.
So failure can go one of 2 ways.
Absolutely.
Right? When you get struck with bad news or a bad thing in business happens, and people can either cave and go get home in the fetal position, or you can rise up.
Yep.
Right?
And I always say though, take that moment. It's a devastating blow. Sometimes people like just brush it off, and sometimes it's that hard where you can give yourself a little second, cry, be devastated because you wanted that part, you wanted that dream. It didn't happen, but it's not over. My thing is, don't stay there.
Yeah.
Right.
So solid.
Yeah.
If I followed you around then and now, and I always love people that got to your level of just the daily habits that I would see. So what am I seeing? Let's talk now, because now we're retired, right?
Yes.
We're done running.
Yes.
But what are the daily habits now? But then also, if you could think about what were the daily habits when we're trying to be at the peak, right? Win for our country. What were you doing?
So something that I just feel like my life will forever flow this way. I'm a planner. Okay. Like a habit is, my day, it has to flow a certain way. I'm not so much of like, something else happened. How do I put that into the 10 o'clock hour? But if I know that I have these things I'm doing the next day, I've already thought of, I'm getting up at this time, I eat at this time, I get dressed by this time, I'm getting the kids ready at this time. Like my clothes are still laid out the day before. Even at track practice, my training partners would laugh at me and they're like, you match every day. And I'm like, well, Nike gives us gear that matches for every day, right? Instead of like, why am I putting the pink with a blue bottom? It's like pink and pink, honey. And so that's kind of how I am with my girls. I'm a planner for them. I plan. My husband, he has something to do. I'm like, oh, babe, he's just like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm like, here's that. I already thought of, what you would need for this time. I am I'm a plan, but I think that's the biggest thing, because for me, when it came to trying to be on top of the podium, there are so many things that could fall through the cracks because you're like, oh, I know tomorrow I have it. No. Yeah. But that's at 3. But you have to be by the bus at 1:30. Yeah. So what do you do before 1:30? Because before you do that, that'll throw off your 3 o'clock. Yep. So that's huge for me. And then it helps you relax and breathe, though. If your day is planned, you're not like, okay, by 3, I gotta. No. Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that you've also, the visuality, you've already thought about it, right?
Yeah, thought and written it out. So I'm a writer kind of as well. And so, like I said, the bus leaves by 1:30. Then I've written out, I woke up at 9, I ate by 9:15, I did. Yeah. That's just how I've flowed.
I think I always call it in business world boringly consistent.
Okay.
And so, you'd see those journals over here, I got all these journals here. I mean, for 15 years, I've written down my life. Yeah. Right? And I think that's important for us, whether you're in the business world or the track world or whatever, a parent world. I think we got to do that because in our minds, when you write it down, it's kind of like that brain tattoo, right? It's already happened. I agree. And it gets you there. And I think, too, to your point of even the clothes matching, I think there's an emotion out of there that takes some work, some brain power the next morning to even think about it. Boom, put it on. Let's go run. Totally I don't have to think.
Yeah, totally agree. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, that one top I thought I was going to wear is dirty. And this is strictly track related. All of a sudden now you're 5 minutes, 10 minutes behind. Well, my race sometimes will go off at 9 o'clock at night. I cannot show up at 9:01. I do not have the luxury of getting to the call room at 8:30 when I was supposed to be there at 8:25. Right. Where they're on the track at 8:30 and like, you missed your race. Yeah. So for me, that's why it comes down to things need to be laid out because I do not have, my race is 12 seconds long. Yeah. So my brain also operates that way. I don't have the luxury of being a second off.
So I'm going to grab this one right here.
Absolutely.
So the camera can see this. So this is a gold medal. Yes. It's pretty cool to be holding a gold medal. I mean, that's amazing. So the Beijing Olympics 2008, walk us through that 12 seconds.
Oh, wow. Ooh, okay. You went there. That 12 seconds is chaos. It is beauty. It's all the things. So literally, Bobby Kersee told me in the hurdles, we all know, you see, it's carnage can happen. Yeah. Someone's running well, hit a hurdle, so he's like, I need you to run like a horse with blinders on. I do not care what happens to your left or your right. I need you to have blinders on because in each round, someone beside me had tripped up and fell. So he's like, in this finals is going to once again be carnage. Yeah. And I remember setting my blocks and I'm like, Dawn, you gotta go. Dawn, you have to go. Dawn, you gotta go. And they were in the blocks and like runners on your mark. And of course, that is like, once I get in these blocks, after 12 seconds, I will know my fate. Like, when can you say in 12 seconds you will know your fate? And it's literally all up to you. You've done this a million. I've been at UCLA and run on that track and run this 12 seconds over and over and over again. The only thing that will mess this up is me. That is a very heavy weight. That is very heavy. But oh, do I welcome it because I have trained for this moment for years. And they shoot the gun and you die. Yeah. It is complete. I mean, every muscle is flexed, everything. And I go over the first hurdle, second hurdle. And by third or fourth hurdle, I see Dellarine London from Jamaica. Her foot is slightly in front of mine. And I say, now, I'm supposed to have blinders on, but you still feel competition. Yeah, sure. And I say, well, you're not winning. You need to move. You need to work. Go to work. So that's what I tell myself.
How fast that brain's working.
Go to work. And by 5, 6, I'm now moving. Now, I don't know what's going on. I can't see anymore. I'm like, okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I come off of 10, lean for your life. I lean, and by the time I look up to kind of comprehend where I am again, everyone is now on the side of me. And so I look over and I see Sally from Australia. She starts screaming and hollering and jumping. And I'm like, I got second, because I knew it wasn't so 8 people
I've
in
watched
front.
the video 10 times. So that's
and I'm like, okay, I got second. And now Priscilla Lopes from Canada is screaming, I got third. Now I got third because they're hugging and jumping. Right. I got third. Oh my God, I'm on the podium. I'm on the
care
podium.
where I'm at,
I am on the podium. And then my training partner, American partner, Damu Cherry comes over. She's like, no, Dawn. 'Cause she could tell my reaction was not a first place reaction. And she's like, no, Dawn, you won. And then that's when I collapse in her arms. Yeah. And it's just like, what do you mean? I can't comprehend. I say, what? Over and over and over again, because it is, it's unreal. It's like, oh my God. Because what you're thinking is in this moment, the world, there are so many people in this world that whatever your dream is, you want it so bad. You have cried and prayed like, God, I swear I'll never, oh my God, if I. And he thought this little girl from East St. Louis, with all that winning would come with, he thought that I could handle that. He said, all of your wants and desires in this moment, you can have it. I could not comprehend that I was the best in the world. And it was all of the sacrifices, all of the everything. It was just like, my God, I thank you. My God, I thank you. That's why I say I will never take it for granted. Because, and I'm talking about all hopes and dreams, not to be on the podium. There are so many people that want to be a lawyer, something happened and they couldn't. I mean, wanted to be married, something happened and they're not. This dream is, they say you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than winning the Olympics. You know, that to me, that's
mind blowing.
Yeah.
So now they bring this, and you're standing on the top of the podium. They put this bad boy across your neck, and they play our national anthem. Tell us about that.
That I will never forget me saying all of my sacrifices, not eating Haagen-Dazs strawberry ice cream. Oh my goodness, I love that ice cream. All the times that I didn't go out or do this and that. And I'm like, it was all worth it. Because so many times you're like, oh, was it like, didn't pan out? It's like you still learned a lesson, but it was a tough lesson. No one wants to learn that lesson. But no, I didn't have to learn a lesson. I was like, the lesson is that, yes, sacrifices, absolutely, they do pay off. And I'm thinking, they're playing. The flag is being, I was praying for this moment. The flag is being raised. My country is being honored because of my efforts. This girl from East St. Louis, the city of champions, has put us on the map again. We are the city of champions. It was, Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had so many chills in an interview, man. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so, I think October 6th was named Dawn Harper-Nelson Day, wasn't it?
That's weird too. Yes.
The whole state of Illinois is October 6th. Yeah. That's my son's birthday. So I'll have to remember that now.
Well, there we go.
We'll celebrate you as well. And so I think when you talk about that, the sacrifice, what I'm always blown away by for Olympic athletes is it's the time of commitment, right? And I mean, all athletes, you got to be in peak performance and all that stuff. But I think an Olympic athlete, you only get to perform for, how many heats did you have plus the Olympic run? So you have what, 3 or 4 heats? So what is that? 48 seconds?
Exactly.
Literally. So you took, so think about that. 4 years, more than 4 years of work. Really, 4 years of work for 48 seconds.
Yes. And that's why I heard someone say, you know, when you see people like cross the line, they've won a medal, they're like, why is everyone always crying and so much? What?
Yeah.
You don't understand. Lives have been sacrificed. Like all the moments, all the Thanksgivings that I love with my family. I didn't live in Illinois because the best place for me to be would be California to train with Bobby Kersee at UCLA, no other place. All family reunions, get-togethers, my niece being born, everything. You miss everything. Yeah. That is what the emotion is. It is, I missed everything. You know what I mean? Like not married, no kids, all these things that a woman, I would love to, not yet, not yet. Yeah. That's why we lose it at the finish line. And guys too, just all the things that they've sacrificed as well. So
now let's fast forward to today. Okay. And obviously you're still in great shape. So what are you doing now to stay mentally and physically in the game as a mom? You're speaking, you're doing all sorts of stuff now. What's the purpose? What's the plan today?
Oh man, the purpose and the plan is give back. Like it is to continue to grow. But right now I am enjoying giving back. So a huge part of what I do is my husband, he's a high school math teacher, but he's also the head track coach at Belleville West. So him being the head coach, of course, I'm like, well, I'll help out a little. And, of course, he's like, I would never ask you to come every day, but you just find yourself falling in love with those raggedy little boys, right? They're hilarious. They're crazy. They have all the questions. And then I'm this female, because I'm not Olympic champion at first. When you first come in, you're Mr. Nelson's wife. The ones now, they know me, but the younger ones, it's like, who is this? They don't say it, but like, who's this chick telling me? Right. Like knees up, toes up.
She may know something.
Knees up, toes up. And eventually I'm like, okay. And I'm like, don't say nothing. I'll tell them about me in a second. And then the other boy's like, do you know? I'm like, shh, don't tell them. And then I'm like, let's go ahead and warm up because I'm about to bust you up. Like, you got all the questions. You think I don't know what I'm talking about. And
so it is
awesome. Oh, listen, I have to, because you still got to every now and then whoop on some people because people want to race you. And, but no, it is fun because now you get to just all the things that you've went through, the times that you cried and you're like, what is this for, God? Yeah. When will I ever need this lesson? Yeah. I didn't ask for that. It's like, oh, this little kid's over there crying. And I'm like, okay. And then you talk to them, you just see the light bulb go off and they're like, oh, okay. So that, and then, I've been to a bunch of universities now. I do consulting work with universities, talking to the athletes, and they're just like, thank you. Like, and I'm like, I never thought that this experience could help someone in the way that it has to, like I said, for them to continue to believe in their dream and to go forward. And then I enjoy people. I'm a people person. So it's been really nice.
Awesome. Yeah. So awesome. What would you go back and tell yourself if you could go back to maybe the 2000 and so the Olympics was 2008 and 2012, but what would you tell the 2004, 2005 Dawn Harper-Nelson?
Okay. I would tell her that your opinion is the only one that matters. Like, yes, you have your support group, right? Yeah. But your opinion is the one that matters because in this sport of track and field, it is very much a what have you done for me lately? Yep. And so what you start to do is warp your opinion on, well, this last race, okay, I did good, but I didn't do like I want. And am I worth this? Because each race, you're proving yourself over and over. And if a race doesn't go well, you feel like absolute crap. And so now the next race, you're like, I got to prove. What are you proving after you won? Like you sound, not even saying after you won, but after I won the gold, you literally find yourself trying to prove yourself. Yeah. What else so my thing is if winning the gold medal doesn't satisfy people. Yeah. So your opinion, 2004, Dawn, you have won, quote unquote, nothing on the standard that you want. You are still worth it. And your opinion is the only one that matters.
I'm writing down a question I'm going to ask you here in a minute, but and so that does so there. I made a post yesterday and I said something like your vision, what I believe, right? My vision there has to be more belief in my vision and what we're going to do and what we're going to build than anybody else's doubt. Yeah. Oh, right? Because imagine saying, "Hey, I'm this little girl from East St. Louis. I'm going to go win the gold medal in the Olympics." Oh yeah. Well, 99 out of 100 people are going to say you're crazy. Absolutely. Right? But your belief has to be greater than their doubt. So how did that play out in your life for you?
Oh, man. How it played out is there's a really good example, and I love it because my uncle was in the barbershop when I went off to UCLA, and this guy told him, does not know me. He told him, oh, I bet you money she's not going to make it past her first quarter.
Oh, boy.
And I told my uncle, he will pay you that money. And he had to pay up that money. And so just that example of how does that play out in your life, people will openly say, sometimes you deal with like you think and you've kind of heard someone tell you someone said. Yeah. It's like, no, people will openly say this to you of.
Especially sports stars, right? They'll put it in the newspapers, they put it on social media.
Did you read it? Everyone has the right to just speak their mind. Right. And now it's on my phone. So it's right there in your face of you win a race like, yeah, but she didn't do da-da-da. She's not good enough. Yeah. She can't do, she won't be able to do it in a month. She won't be able to do it next year. Can she? Just in your hand.
Yeah. Did you read that stuff?
Sometimes it did, and it got to me. And that's why I said your opinion. But it's, how do you not read some of the stuff? Because within that stuff is also your supporters. Right. And so you have those messages, but then you have like 100 of like, oh my God, Dawn, you're so inspiring. And thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you're trash. Oh gosh, woo, woo. Like, how did that jump out? Yeah. But it is, but you have to find your, like, okay, how do you let 50 out of 10,000 bother you?
Yeah. So how do you find now, and this is the question I wrote down that I wanted to ask, is I had a pitcher that, phenomenal Major League Baseball pitcher for the Cardinals told me one time that the adrenaline of coming out of that bullpen, you got 48,000 people, 50,000 people screaming for you. The game is on the line. Heart's popping, right? You can't replace that.
No.
So now when we're running in the Olympics, how do you replace the adrenaline? Like, how do you find that now to not want to crave more of that?
Right. So I think one thing that was helpful, and my husband, thank you for him, Lord, because he was very clear on, do not walk away from this sport until you're done. Because he said, I cannot fill that void for you. And because he knew when we got married at 28, I was like, oh, in like 2 more years, we're going to have kids. We're going to have kids. And he's like, okay. And he just never was like, you said 2.
Yeah.
And then like 3 years, and then 4 years kind of happened. And then like 5. And I remember just feeling kind of that weight of like, oh, I told him, but I don't really want to bring it back up because I'm still having fun kind of competing. He never questioned, never said, hey there, lady. You kind of said. And so I remember I said I was going to retire after 17. And then I told him this, and I made the whole announcement, like, I'm going to retire. And it was after World Championships, and I had gotten silver, and I was like, I'm not done. And I'm like, how do I say this when I've told him I'm going to move home? Because he lived in Illinois, and I lived in California for first 6 years of our marriage.
Oh, wow.
So I told him I'm coming home in the 5th year. How do you say actually? And so I remember I was like, babe, so I got something I kind of want to say. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, no, you don't. And then he's like, I know. And I'm like, okay, now I got to say it because he thinks he knows. And I'm like, I kind of want to keep running. He's like, I know. And I was like, what? And he's like, babe, I know you. He was like, you're not done. I was like, thank you. And I started crying like, thank you so much for making sure that and the blessing is I was healthy enough to go until I felt like I was done. And so that helped when I was ready to walk away, my yearning to be someone's mom and to be a wife, like a so-called full-time wife, because you're always full-time wife, but to be someone's mom was a bigger pull on me than that. But I will say being connected to my sport is very, very helpful. So I still do commentating. And so when I watch, I still jump on my phone every now and then and record myself watching it. And I get all the feels, I get all the but because I still work out, it makes me realize I don't need that action anymore because I don't want to die on the track the way that I had to. I know what it takes to be on that podium. Yeah. That's just a commitment that I'm not willing to make. And so I think for me, that's what's helpful is me understanding that I'm really okay being done. Yeah. That's
good. That's great. I heard too, or I read during my research, there was this one kid in high school, boy, that you couldn't beat. And so now I'd like to know, have you seen where this guy's life has gone? Like, do you know anything about this guy anymore?
He has the best life out here. It's my husband. Yes, it's just the craziest thing that like whose story, I tell him all the time. And we are really like a fairy. Like, I'm like, it sounds crazy because people are like, how are they on the inside? Yeah. We're really like a fairy tale because to be the only girl, and so they put me in with all the boys in 8th grade. And for him to be the one that beats me, and I was like, that boy. I was like, I want to race him. I don't lose. And he said he was really like, but I'm a boy. Why is she so mad? Right. I was like, so when are we racing again? And they're like, the race is over. I'm like, no. That was first round. But no. And so just as time went on, our friendship really grew from that. Yeah. And we never dated until we were 27 years old. Oh, wow. So he was always my cute friend, Alonzo. But we were always friends that held each other accountable. Yeah. Like in high school. So we went to high school together. Always friends that seriously, like if in the hallways, like, you're supposed to be. And I'm like, dude, like, why are you always telling me, you're supposed to be? Yeah, but it was a fun, serious friendship, And so it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that when I saw that he beat you.
So
last couple questions here. One of the questions I ask all the time for people is fears. There's fears we put in our mind, right? How many of the fears you put in your mind actually blew up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
I have one.
Let's hear it.
That is, you got to be kidding me. It is a picture, and it's like I used it. I had to do I did an AHA speaker series at the Stiefel Theater, and I said, this is perfect. It's one of those situations, once again, where I said, when will I ever use this? And I remember thinking, I'm preparing myself for like, okay, I'm going to talk to, this theater. What is going to like shock them? And I was like, oh, God, I got it. I always just had this fear of falling in a race, like a major race, though, not like the one.
Yeah.
And so 2008 in Beijing, I won. Now it's 2015, and I'm the favorite to win Beijing. It's where it all came.
Right.
Okay.
Coming full
I already
circle.
know how this goes. And I remember it was just the talk. I felt like it was finally like, they were like, Dawn's the one. Dawn's the one. And gun goes off. And my coach, we had been really working on, we're going to stay head down, and we're really running through those first 2 hurdles. We're going to drive. We're moving. And I remember even in practice, I would do it, but we have hurdle pads on the hurdle. So if you hit it, it's literally foam. So it just knocks it off. You won't hit the hurdle. Yeah. So you just know, oh man, I would have hit. And I remember sometimes I would kind of peek up because it's dangerous to run at a hurdle and not see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but are you really going to commit? And I remember standing at the line. I'm like, look, we're here. I'm like, I'm going to trust you, God. I'm like, too many times, I've questioned. Time is now, know.
Right.
In the blocks, head down, gun goes off. First hurdle smooth, second hurdle, I'm on the ground. And now I was gone. Everyone now has passed me, and now they're gone.
Yeah, you can't catch them.
And I'm the favorite to win. Well, you're on the ground. And I remember sitting there, and there's a picture of me. No one else is on the track. And I'm sitting there on the ground, and I'm like, and there's an official on the side, and he's like, ma'am. Now, because the event is going on. Now it's the next heat. And I'm like, and I was like, I'm coming. What just happened? That was the most, the thing is, I think it's almost one of those, and it's like, you don't know if God works that way, but it's almost like you need to experience this to know life is not over, because I just felt like if that ever happened, oh my God, I was on the ground. And of course, I understood, this was the second time in my life that my husband's face put in perspective the magnitude of what had happened. And I come around, I'm walking down, and I'm just like, what is going on? And I finally see my husband, and the look on his face of like pure shock and just unbelief I was like, oh my God, I did fall. I fell. I mean, I'm scraped up, but it's like his face, I fell. Yeah. And I remember I still had spikes and everything on, and the media is there like, okay, interviews. And I'm like, I need a moment. I can't, keep this together. So I go to the back, I lay on the ground, and I just lose it. And he's taking my spikes off. And I'm just like, I'm putty. Yeah. I am complete putty. But the media is still outside, like, we're waiting on you whenever you're ready. And I think it was Joanna, one of my old training partners, she came over and she's like, you got this. Like, get it together. And I go back out and I do all the interviews. And I get done, and I just lose it again. And now I have to go to the medical tent because I'm jacked up. Yeah. And so they're like and I'm burning because it's just like scars. And it's just like, it was just the worst situation ever. And so, like you said, that was my fear, and that happened. And like I said, sometimes it's okay, have your moment. But I had a race coming up after that. That was the Diamond League trophy was on the line. So do you carry that to that race? Do you carry that, oh my gosh, the worst can happen. What if it happens again? Well, I went and I won my third one.
Love it. So last question for you. This is, I always tell people sometimes, I want you to give your locker room, this is your locker room halftime speech, right? Team's down by 2, intense. Whatever it is you got right now. You got a little boy or a little girl that needs to hear a message, right? And they're going to listen to a Olympic gold medalist give them their halftime speech. What are you telling them?
Oh man, this is intense. I want to. Oh, and a rap. No, it's flat.
Exactly.
No, it's one of those. For me, I guess like I said, for me, I'm going to understand the gravity of this situation, and I'm telling them what we have not done, what you have not done, is all the hard work. You remember that time you couldn't go out with your friends? You remember? And I'm just pointing out. Yeah. You remember when you couldn't? You remember? You remember that time you were nervous? All that. I'm like, sit in that. Now put that stuff outside, right? Because what we will not do is give them that. You will not give up on your dream right now. Tomorrow you will be smiling. Tomorrow you will be happy because you went out there and you left it all on the line. What we're going to do is go in. What we're going to do is work for this is the last sacrifice, right? Go out there and kill. I'm not here to be soft on my words. Kill.
I'm not here to be soft in my words.
No, kill.
And do you think God wants abundance thinking? Like they want you to. He wants you to think, right?
I mean, you said abundance thinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just feel like if it's not meant to be, it won't be, because I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I want it all.
Yeah.
And so if I don't get it, it's because I wasn't supposed to have it. I want it all. So go out there and and it's funny when I say, soft talking, because sometimes, it's like, oh, is that kind of harsh? No, I say kill. When I say kill, I'm talking about go out there and execute everything. Whatever sport this is, soccer, you know when this person makes that move, you know what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Don't second guess it. Do it. It is second nature by this point. If we are in this game, you have been here before. That means you deserve to be here. If we had a track meet and you get to the third hurdle, you know what move you're supposed to make. Don't you second guess. If you second guess, you're giving them another inch. We don't have inches in track and field that we can give.
It's pretty badass. I'm fired up. I could run through a brick wall right now.
All right. No.
Well, Dawn Harper-Nelson, thank you so much for being on the Circuit of Success. Where do our listeners find more of you, and where can they find you?
Yes, absolutely. So Instagram and Twitter is the same, DHarp100MH, and then Facebook is my name, Dawn Harper-Nelson.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with us today.
Course.
Amazing story. Thank you for bringing all this stuff.
Of course.
Not every day you get to hold a Olympic gold medal, so it's an honor to be able to do that. And your hard work, amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Awesome.